DragonForce are back with their 8th studio album. Now, this is just a single, the album hasn't released yet. But basically, it's just explaining how I personally feel with DragonForce, so you kind of know the kind of mindset I'm coming from. I haven't really been a fan of DragonForce. Like, with their first singer, I was never on board with the band. Obviously, I've heard Through the Fire and the Flames, and I do enjoy that song. Like, the power, the energy, it's just full of energy. There's so much power to it. The vocalist was really, really good. The keyboardist was amazing. The solo in that was just absolutely incredible. But then it's the thing of, a lot of people with DragonForce, which is basically, you hear the one, maybe two tracks, and then after that, everything just becomes the same. The band always play in this tone that they have, this rhythm, this style, and they never go out of it. It's always the exact same tone, it's always the exact same rhythm, which is usually just epically fast. And when solos are always fast and it's always the same tone and everything just becomes very samey. You can't really distinguish certain things. So if the band are playing something different because they're going so fast and the tone is just always the same, it's very hard to tell if they're actually going to be doing anything new because of just the insanity that they put out. So everything just kind of becomes the same, everything blends together, it becomes extremely boring and difficult to listen to. So, I've not really been a fan. I like Through the Fire and the Flames, and other than that, they're a crap band, really. They can't do anything unique or different. They don't seem to have the talent or mindset to really make anything else. Which, they're fast guitarists, there is skill to that, but as for actual songwriting and actually doing something else, they seem to really lack. Which, to me, just isn't really that talented. So, I did get into DragonForce. So it was basically when the new singer came in and they did The Power Within. Now, that's probably my favourite album by them, mostly because it is the most diverse album they've done. They had slow solos. It's pretty much the only album of theirs where they have slow solos and more than just the one. Like, just slow, it never really goes super quick. It may have a quick moment, but it doesn't linger. And then they have songs which are constantly slowed down and never really get to a speedy section. They have soft songs to heavy songs. So it just was the most diverse, held back DragonForce album that has been done. And I prefer the sound of the new singer to the old one. So I really liked that album. And then Maximum Overload, I also liked that, even though it was basically just going back to the original DragonForce style of just basically sheer speed. So why did I like that? Well, it's probably just because I've never really given DragonForce any chance whatsoever. So because I liked the new singer and everything, and I wasn't overly keen on the old singer, even though he is gifted, he just wasn't really for me. I prefer this guy. It was basically my first experience of a full-on shred kind of album type of thing. Reaching into Infinity, I listened to, never really got into it. Now, the band state it is the most diverse album they've done. That's complete bollocks, but seeing that these guys can't do anything different or original besides, the DragonForce signature sound, which is all they have, you can't really blame them for thinking it's that diverse, because obviously they're kind of morons when it comes to making music. So, that's complete crap. Reaching into Infinity was nothing really different. There was the one track that had Screamo in it, which again is very different, but it was one track for a short section, and that section was utter crap. It sounded absolutely awful. The rest of that song actually sounded amazing. It was an incredible sounding song and quite different. But then that screaming section completely wrecked that song for me. I couldn't listen to it. The screaming was absolutely awful. Then there was another track, Judgment Day, I believe it was, which had a lot more kind of poppy synth to it, which I thought was kind of different. But the band always they struggle to leave this core aspect of what DragonForce is. So when they try something new, there is so much DragonForce thrown in as well that no matter what, if it's different, like, oh, they're doing death metal, but it is completely DragonForce. And the only thing that has changed is basically the screams. Oh, it's gone to this kind of poppy synth thing, stuff with Judgment Day, but then everything else, the singing style, the guitar playing solos, everything is DragonForce. It is basically just a sound, a style. And it's just one aspect when a band is made up of multiple aspects and things, but then nothing else changes. Meaning, it is still repetitive. Just because they change one aspect does not mean it's now unbelievably diverse and everything's changed. Well, no, because as I say, one thing changes. And then you have the song structure, the rhythms, the tones, and then the singing style, and then the guitar kind of playing, and then the solos, and all of that, song structure, everything. And all that stays exactly the same. So how can you really say it's so diverse because he screamed? Use your brain, seriously, because it's really irritating when people are that lacking in intelligence. So, this track, Highway to Oblivion, it's 6 minutes 48 seconds, so a fairly long track. And as the song starts, it is different, very different actually, because it is just synths. Just basically, the keys to synths, analog kind of noises. It sounds of, the old school kind of 70s, which had all the kind of neon stuff, neon pop, and, the era of Tron came out. I think Tron is heavily influenced in this album. You can tell by the bloody album cover that it's probably took a lot of influence from, them 70s arcade game things, and, the kind of pop dance vibe, and Tron, and all that aspects. It's all basically in this. So it's all this heavily key synth kind of stuff going on. You have the voice. He has an echo effect put on him in certain areas. Other than that, he does have massive amount of effect into his voice, which and he sings in a high tone. That is usually where this singer sits. And it is basically that for a fair while, just the synths, and it's not super quick synths. It is just slow and I wouldn't say melodic, but it's got melody and it's slow, and then the kind of voice is kind of singing, and then with the echo, his voice obviously kind of trails off with the echo. And it's very different just because it is slow. There's no guitars. It's just really slow. It's laid back. And then the guitars come in and everything is just completely wrecked. It's stupid, basically, video game style playing that they do, and they just go into insane speed and whittle around like they're 5-year-olds, just like, oh, jump in, speed, oh my god. And it sucks. Sounds like any other kind of intro you get from DragonForce, just insane speed, put some video game sound effects in there, do some, two-handed tapping and everything, tap on the neck, haha, it's all fun and everything. It's the 8th album they've been doing this for every single album, so it's dull. And the tone that they have as well is incredibly awful, because it's a dead tone. The tone is so bright that there is no warmth or thickness to the sound. So it basically sounds like they're playing EMGs, which is a pickup that lacks any tone whatsoever or any warmth. It is just an articulate pickup, just to basically get the sound across. Other than that, it's got no features. That is all the EMG pickup is basically built for, is to basically get articulation out. It's not meant to give tone, it's not meant to give warmth, it's not meant to have a round bottom end or any bass to it. It's just piercing to get articulation across. And then it also sounds like they're playing on Elder Bodies, which brightens the tone up even more than if you were to use mahogany. even the size of Herman Lee's guitar, his guitar is really, really, really thin, meaning the sound that resonates off of his guitar just kind of goes through, so it's still piercing. If he had a really thick guitar and then the sound hit on that, it would kind of give a bit of a roundness to it. Just how much wood is in the guitar does add to the sound, but because it's super thin, it doesn't thicken the sound up, it just cuts through. So there is no warmth or tone or anything musical to the tone that DragonForce plays. So they're going super fast, which lacks any musicality, and then the sound that they do have with the tone of what they got lacks musicality as well. So you've got the playing that lacks musicality because everything is pure speed, and then you've got a tone that lacks musicality because there's no warmth at all to it. You need warmth to give you some musicality, some nice tone. Without the warmth, everything is just so digital sounding, it's really disgusting. So, moving on, getting into your verse where the singer comes in. The second he starts, it is slightly better because the guitars play in a different kind of aspect and style where they actually thicken the sound up a little. So it's not pure speed, it's just dun 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 dun. And it's near the top of the neck, so it's a fatter sound. You can still tell that the tone that they have and everything is still really piercing. But because it's at the top of the neck, it's just dun dun dun, it thickens it up a little bit. So, yeah, you get something a little heavy, which is good because everything is just so bright. So, I like that sound because you barely get it in DragonForce. And then you got the vocalist and everything, so it just sounds like a lot more laid back, heavier DragonForce for that small section. And then when it kind of starts getting into it, it is slower. It's just a dun 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 dun, kind of pace. So it's not really quick. Just masturbating on the guitar. But again, the tone that they have is very typical DragonForce. So even though they are going slower than usual, it's still in a pace that is reasonably quick. It's still not exactly slow. There's still no real melody to it because of the tone, and still the playing seems to lack any imagination for melody. It's not a focus. It's just a dun 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 dun. They don't have the mindset for melody. They don't know how to do it, and it's not coming across. So all you basically have is the vocalist that is giving the kind of melody and the kind of nice, warmth to the song, the melody and the warmth. Other than that, the drums, the instruments, everything lacks any of that. It's just completely dead of emotion. The pre-chorus, they start kind of building up. It's a typical DragonForce pre-chorus, and then it goes into the chorus where the vocalist gets higher and everything, and then the instruments start racing a little, and it's the chorus DragonForce do pretty much all the time. And then you get your bit of your interlude heading into the second verse, and it's again back to the speed, a bit of a kind of Sonic sound effect thrown in there, a bit of Mario, and it's it's crap. It's absolutely god awful. I'm sick of it. It's not musical in the slightest. Then you get back to the verse, which it is a slower speed. It is appreciated. You get the bit of heaviness at the start, which is different. It's a different tone to the overwhelmingly overused tone that they have. So it is really nice just to hear DragonForce with a 3-second different tone. Them 3 seconds are just unbelievable just because it is so different. And it's so needed, but that's not really a compliment. It just basically shows just how bad DragonForce are. And then it starts going into the bit of kind of gallops. The tone that they have sucks. And it's got good melody and beat to it. It's basically the vocalist carries everything when he starts going into different kind of rhythms through the verse and everything, and changes his pitch up a tad, and that's the most interesting part. Musically, there is nothing interesting apart from, the intro, because it was all synths and everything, and that was incredibly different, and then the kind of start of the verse for the few seconds, just because it's a different tone that is different for DragonForce outside the norm that they always stick to. So instrumentally, it's basically the intro because it's different, and then the few seconds start of the verse because it sounds different. Other than that, musically, it sucks. And then the vocalist, which sounds really good, but even he starts following a similar pattern because as songwriters, they follow the same formula and pattern. So as I say, the chorus, he always goes higher. It always gets a bit more kind of faster and bombastic, and the pre-chorus, builds up, and they're going super energetic to build it into the chorus. That always happens with DragonForce. The solo is DragonForce. There is nothing new, nothing unique, nothing special. It's fast. I don't know how you'd be able to tell it out if I were to play this and say what song solo is this. It would be damn near impossible unless you're a hardcore DragonForce fan and it's all you fucking listen to seriously be able to distinguish what solos from where. Because other than that, you're not going to have a clue because they all sound the bloody same. And people who say, well, they don't, it's still crap because there is no melody. There's no melody, there's no melodic solos, there's no fun bouncy solos, there's no blues stuff, there's no kind of jazz stuff, there's nothing but shred. It's one style out of so many. And so the fact that you can only do this one bloody thing, and then you have a guitarist which may not be as fast as Herman Lee, but has a foot in all aspects and realms of guitar skills. That guy's going to be way better of a musician than bloody Herman, no matter how quick he is. So, first solo, crap as all hell. There is a midsection which breaks the solos apart. So when Herman or Totem, I think his name is, finishes the solo, I don't know which one goes first. There is a break where things do get a bit deeper again. They go to the top of the neck, kind of fatten the sound out a bit. And that section is actually more interesting than both the bloody solos, which is basically just a pause between solos. I prefer that to the solos, and I love solos. Yet I would prefer to listen to no solo. They're clearly doing something wrong when I actually prefer just a stupid break interlude and not have solos, because when other bands do that, I despise it. Yet with DragonForce, it's the best part because the solos are just so irritating and so bland and lacking any thought or originality or emotion or melody, anything apart from just speed for the sake of speed. And then it goes obviously into the second solo, which again is just pure speed. It's ridiculous to really tell the two guitarists apart. You would expect one guitarist to have a focus on his aspects and the other one to have a focus on his aspect, but no, both of them just go for sheer speed and just try and outperform each other. I think if you have two lead guitarists, one should be a focus on maybe the metal, and then someone will focus a bit more on melody, and then someone will focus on something else while the other focuses on something else, so you get two completely different personalities and solos instead of just it's the same. I don't see the point of having two guitarists when they're both exactly the same and same mindset. It doesn't give any diversity at all, even if it is two separate people. There is no diversity whatsoever. So, after that, it's basically just the chorus again, end of the song. So, just summing it up, it is DragonForce. It is just DragonForce again. And I know fans of the band and maybe some people who kind of maybe sit on the fence may lean over to liking, but even people on the fence I think will lean over to my area where it's not good enough. And then people who just don't really like them and just think they're bland, lack talent, can't do anything different apart from this, are going to think exactly the same. So for the fans and everything, they're obviously going to notice, that the verse is slower than usual. Kind of start of the verse has a thicker sound to it. The intro's different. It does have a more poppy vibe throughout the whole track as well. So fans will say it's extremely diverse, so unlike any other DragonForce song. You won't even, if someone played it, you wouldn't even be able to tell that this was DragonForce. It shows how thick they are. But then people on the fence may say it does enough. But for people who are really strict and really look in and, just analyse everything, are probably going to pick up on the same thing I do. There is not a lot changed. There are aspects changed, and I do appreciate them aspects, just like I think anyone else would appreciate the aspects that I get out. People who are fed up with DragonForce will appreciate the intro because it is different. It is slower. It has somewhat of a melody to it, even though I still think it lacks emotion, but it is melody. And then the start of the verse, that fatter sound that they have, people will appreciate that. The overall verse, the fact that it is slowed down more than usual, people will appreciate that. The break between solos, where they have the kind of fat sound, which people kind of explain as death metal type of sound, people are going to appreciate it because it is different from DragonForce. It gives the break to the monotonous sound that has been going on for years and years and years of DragonForce. And people are obviously going to really appreciate that. And some people who are so sick of it may overly appreciate it because they're just so thankful that there is something new. But you have to think about everything else. The tone is still the typical DragonForce tone, which is completely dead of all emotion or melody. Even when it's slowed down, it's still lacking something musical. It still sounds like they're going at a fairly rapid pace. The chorus is very typical. The solos are still very, very typical. The tone is very, very typical. So still, everything on a musical aspect is still the same DragonForce. It is basically just the kind of synths that change it up a little bit, and then the vocalist, but even he's now starting to follow a similar formula. So the only thing that has really changed is basically the verse is a tad slower, but that's not really the band members musically doing something completely different and new. They've just basically slowed the pace down a tad. But other than that, it is still basically DragonForce. The tone is always exactly the same. They never change their sound up at all. Structure-wise, solo, everything's the same. So nothing, even the vocalist, doesn't actually change. Nothing is actually new. Besides probably the intro. But even saying that, the Power Within had intros sort of in that sort of realm, and they have touched on it since that album in little aspects. And then Judgment Day again kind of had the kind of poppy vibe. This is just on a bigger scale. So can you really say this is so unique and diverse? No, it's DragonForce. It's not unique. It is DragonForce. Is it really diverse? No, because musically, the musicians aren't really doing anything different. They are still playing exactly the same as they've been doing since day bloody one. The 8 albums prior to this. Vocally, yes, when we had the new vocalist in the Power Within, it was very different to the previous guy because it was a different voice, and then they kind of worked with this voice to do new things that they couldn't do with the other guy's voice. So that was nice, but now he's even starting to get trapped in this monotonous thing of how he approaches the chorus. He always has to sing higher, and it's just getting very bland. Mark is starting to become a bland singer in DragonForce because they don't do anything new. And then the rest of the band, there is nothing new whatsoever apart from basically the synths take more of a forefront style. So other than that, there is nothing new. So again, it's not diverse. It's not really doing anything new. It is exactly the same. if I was to tell DragonForce what to do, I'd say change your tone. Get a warmer tone that is not just pure bright. Your tone is so bad. I hate the sound of your tone. Get something with a bottom end, some roundness to it, a bit of bass to it, just a fatter tone would really help. And then seriously slow down. And your solos, I would like an album that has no solos that have shred in it. Just melody and rhythms and funness with some fun energy. And yeah, basically just change your tone, slow down and focus on melody. It's all you got to do, and it would be absolute wonders if you did an album like that. And then you can start going out from there doing new stuff. So, rating this track, I know a lot of people are going to like it and think it is very different, but when you really look into it, it really isn't. So I can't really give them scores for doing something new. There is some very slight new things, which I will give them credit for. And coming out of DragonForce being so monotonous and getting these few little things, it really does make it seem like it's bigger than what it is, but it really isn't. So, you know, rating the track, it would be a 5. It's average. I do enjoy it for the small new aspects to it. But if it was purely typical DragonForce, it would obviously be below average. But it's average. I don't mind it, but I probably wouldn't really listen to it again. I may do. If someone was to play it, I wouldn't mind. It would be fun and different than listening to a very typical DragonForce song. So, yeah, just think average. It's an average track. A 5 out of 10. So, there is obviously the rest of the album, which may be different. I really highly doubt it, but never know. I could be wrong, because I don't know. So, hopefully I'm proven wrong and it is very different, because then that would be obviously amazing. It would be brilliant. It would be great. So we'll just have to wait until another single releases or until the album drops, and then I can get reviews out for that. So that is it from me, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.